Hey everyone, I'm Brian, and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is my first video. I've been blogging about issues related to the philosophy of religion since 2016 and have been exploring arguments for and against the existence of God. I see the topic of God as one of the most interesting and important topics out there. Just think about what the possibilities that stem from theism are, like a potential to live forever, an omniscient being that has a plan for your life. But even without these considerations, religion is clearly deeply impactful. People make decisions on who they'll date and marry, what their views on homosexuality are, and often what kinds of scientific theories they'll accept. And this is all based on their belief in a being called God. For these reasons, I see a duty to carefully examine and assess the reasons people have put forth for why belief in God is warranted, as well as looking at the opposing aisle. Since 2016, I've had some shifts in my views, going from Christian to agnostic to now what's called a bare theist or philosophical theist. I prefer that one, meaning I believe there's some God out there, but I'm unsure whether or not this being is involved in human affairs. I wanted to call myself a deist, but I was quickly corrected since my stance is one of uncertainty on whether or not God is involved in human affairs. And because of that, I would more accurately be described as a philosophical theist. I'm fine with that since I feel like it sounds a little bit more sophisticated, which is cool. The purpose of this channel will be trying to break down complex philosophical ideas and arguments in ways that are digestible to the layperson, and to do so in an interesting and entertaining way. I'm sure I'll be incorporating jokes into these videos, though hopefully not at the expense of quality philosophy. And just at the outset, I want to be clear that I have no formal philosophical training, though I do plan on studying and learning from trained philosophers, and will do my best to cover topics and arguments that are the best in town. That being said, there is a lot of bad philosophy on YouTube that of course warrants addressing, since it often reaches huge audiences. Now, while we will definitely look at the lesser-known arguments and their formulations that have been produced in academia, we will also examine some of the popular-level philosophical arguments on YouTube. These arguments that you can find on YouTube are taken quite seriously. And even if they are constructed on faulty assumptions and poor reasoning, they have undeniably been highly influential. So I bring up my lack of formal training not as a way to discredit myself going forward, but I wanted to be forthcoming that I have a lot to learn. I'm excited about the journey ahead. But philosophy, from what I've gathered over the years, it is in fact a discipline that does open itself up to anyone with enough interest and persistence to commit themselves to seriously studying it. I wish I had spent more time reading and writing over the past few years, but my plan going forward is to have structured time each week where I devote myself to investigating philosophical issues, writing on them, and recording YouTube videos. The YouTube channel will serve as additional accountability for myself to continuously study and create new content, as well as to grow and develop as a philosopher and writer. It will hopefully give me the opportunity to speak with people and pick their brains, such as in interviews, more so than I could just by writing the blog. It will also allow for more feedback from hopefully a larger audience on areas I can improve on, errors in my thinking, and ideas for future research. My plan is for these first few videos to rely pretty heavily on previous blog posts that I've written, just so that I can be posting regularly and start to build some momentum and accountability, with expectations that more videos will be released in a reasonably quick time frame. These topics will look at some of the popular objections raised against arguments for God, such as atheist cosmologist Sean Carroll's arguments against the fine-tuning argument for God's existence, which is a specific and relatively newer argument from design for those unfamiliar. I've also written about Matt Dillahunty from the Atheist Experience and some problems I've seen with some of the arguments that he's presented, but I won't be going wholly on the defensive. Most of my writings cover not just objections to arguments for God, but look in detail at the arguments themselves and why they should or shouldn't be accepted. I've written about fine-tuning, contingency, and moral arguments, and plan on doing a study on the ontological argument soon. Now, if you don't know what any of those are, don't worry, because we'll cover all of that, as well as why these arguments are important and why these things matter. I'm also really excited because my next area of study will be on the soul, and that should be very interesting. We'll, of course, look at philosophical arguments that seek to show soul exists, like those that pertain to having an immaterial mind, intentionality, free will, etc. But we're also going to look at things like purported evidence of the paranormal and near-death experiences. As someone who loves horror movies and spooky stuff, this should be pretty fun to explore. Finally, we'll look at Christianity specifically since, just to be frank, it's the predominant religion where I live, and it's the one I've gotten the most exposure to, especially in terms of defending it through argumentation. I know this is a quick video, guys, but and I know there's not lots of exciting and bright graphics to keep your attention. So if you've made it this far, I really appreciate it, and I think you should give yourself a pat on the back. But I wanted to be sure that I'm going to commit to this channel before I go all out, learn Adobe After Effects, make finely tuned adjustments to the lighting, finely tuned, and make sure the videos are as stimulating as possible. But I'm not going to leave that completely off the table as an option in the future. So I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and really looking forward to my next video. I'm going to be talking about objections to the fine-tuning argument, a couple of which I think are presented by Sean Carroll in his debate with William Lane Craig. I know at least one of them is, but looking forward to that, and I'll explain why I don't think those arguments hold up. So thank you again for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care.